Hi, welcome to Wildcard FPL. We're going to be talking about one of the most memorable weeks in history for how bad everybody's scores were. One of the lowest scoring weeks I think there's ever been. We're going to be looking at our too good, too bad, and we're going to be looking at early thoughts for what's coming up in the week, given that there were a lot of injuries and suspensions around. Let's jump into it. Alf, let's take a look at your game week. How did it go? How many points did you get, or rather didn't get? And who are your too good and too bad for last week?
Bit of a dreadful week. Everyone's feeling the pain. So 25 points all in. My overall rank right now is just under 580,000th. So it could have been way worse. Really awful week. I'm really glad to see the back of it. From a too good, too bad standpoint, good. I only had two players who returned. So Shah with 5 points and Matoma with 6. And then the rest just didn't do anything. But particularly bad for my team, it has to go to Haaland. All in, he got 2 points because of the double captain points. And then my second would be Simicast, who came on at the 70th minute, scored 1 point. The game between Chelsea and Spurs, I think, just really embodies the craziness of game week 11. Not only was it insane for FPL, but just to finish off the game week with that insane match. Just perfect.
I don't think you did too badly. You're right, it could have been a much bigger red arrow. John, how did your week go? What points did you get? And who are your too good and too bad this week?
Pretty good week, really, relatively. It feels strange to say that with 43 points, but I think that's the biggest score in every league that I'm in, which kind of sums it up. For the too bad, I've got Dan Burn. Apparently he's got a pretty significant injury, 1 point, and Maddison as well, injured off 43 minutes. For the good, Gordon and Johnston at Crystal Palace. That was me for the week.
I'm sure there was a big green arrow as well for John, unlike most people around. But for me, it wasn't someone who doesn't have Haaland in their team. This was billed to be the weekend of doom, but it didn't go too badly. In the end, I finished on 28 points. I was 4 points shy of a green arrow. So literally any sort of return from Liverpool, or indeed any sort of return from Son, would have meant I'd get a green arrow. But I can't keep up my run of green arrows. I've had 3 in a row. It was only a small red though. My too bad, I'm going to have to say Mr. Darwin in there. I've always felt uncomfortable having him in the team. We know what his finishing is like. We know he needs plenty of chances to score any goals. He had plenty of chances. He didn't score anything at all. My second bad is definitely Matty Cash. He, in pure game week 11 style, he went off injured at 58 minutes. My too good though, first one was Jarrod Bowen. I made a really good benching decision. I benched Saka, who got nothing. Bowen got a goal, so I was really happy with that. The other one was Gay. I popped him in, delivered a clean sheet. He did pick up a yellow, but I think in terms of game week 11, 5 points is a mega haul for Gay. So loving him right now. That's our week. Hopefully your week was better, although looking at the scores out there, almost certainly not. Drop some comments in the comments box below of how your week went. I think it's just best we try and forget as quickly as we can about game week 11 and move on to game week 12. One of the other things that happened in game week 11 was that we saw a few injuries around. We saw a few red cards around. Most of those were at one particular stadium for one particular team. We also had some weird Haaland stuff going on. He came off injured. Nearly 200,000 people have transferred out Haaland so far. Right decision, wrong decision? Where are you on that?
This is coming from someone who really likes Erling Haaland. I can see why people might be looking to get rid of him now. You know, he's 14 mil. He's not really set the world alight, has he? And, you know, I think if we look historically at Haaland, he doesn't seem to score that many goals in the big games. I think that has been a criticism of his. Like, he does score against the smaller teams quite heavily. So history might say really avoid him. And I understand why people might be getting rid of him. If you can free up some cash. But it is a risk. From my perspective, I'd be holding on to him.
Looking at I wonder how many people are worried. They saw the numbers of people who are transferring him out and they're worried about some sort of price drop as well. Looking at the volume of people that own him, it will be we're weeks away from any sort of price drop on Erling Haaland. So I don't think that's going to be a consideration. Yeah, if I had him right now, I don't think I'd be tempted to sell him now. I made my decision to sell him during a wild card and spreading the fees around elsewhere, but I think I'm now coming to the end of that phase where I'll be looking to get Haaland back hopefully in a few weeks. But yeah, I think it's interesting that 200,000 people have pulled the trigger and got rid of him. Very interesting indeed. So I'm guessing that we will see how that plays out next week. John, before I come to you as our Spurs expert, I'm just going to talk briefly about Dan Burn. He's probably the major injury in my team. My team was looking really nice, but he's got a significant injury out until at least January. So I'm going to have to replace him. I'm I'm thinking about a very straightforward replacement. I have 2 free transfers this week. My straightforward replacement would be
Lascelles.
Jamal Lascelles, and
Yeah,
it
man.
seems really easy to do. And what do you guys think of that? He's pretty nailed to start now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he is, and I've been also thinking about doing Shah to Lascelles because it frees up 1.2 mil for me.
Yeah, a lot of cash.
So I think that makes total sense. It may feel a little sideways, but I think Lascelles is pretty nailed for the next until the new year now, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think
it's looking like it.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is that Livramento is going to play on the right, which happened tonight against Dortmund actually, and then back two of Schär and Lascelles, and then Tripp on the left, which is interesting. But that might be the Newcastle defence for the foreseeable. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I nearly did burn to Lascelles in my wild card. I was umming and ahhing between Burn and Lascelles in my wild card, which I really wish I'd done in hindsight. Saved a bit of money, but it was more up in the air that Lascelles would be playing so much at the time.
Definitely, it was a risk at the time.
It was a risk at the time. Annoying to know it would have paid off, but yeah, such is life in FPL. Yeah, I've got the same thing with Burn. I don't know. I've rolled a transfer this week again. So I'll have a think closer to the weekend what the defensive options are. But I'm interested in the Crystal Palace player, so I might go for see if I can get Anderson or Gay in instead. So I might not look straight for a Newcastle swap.
If you do have Trippier, with him playing on the left, does that change anything, or does he get so many of his assists from dead ball situations that the fact he's over on the left doesn't really change anything, or do you think it might limit some of his assist making prowess?
I have heard that his attacking returns should slow down a little bit because he's on the left. I don't really get why. I think that if it was because Livramento, we know about Livramento, right? Like Steve, I remember him being one of your favourites a few seasons ago, and you're right. Like, let's think about him as a player. He's extremely attacking, so maybe that means that Trippier does need to sit back a little bit and just kind of, he's the captain. He's got there's some problems with the team. They're missing some key players, so maybe he is going to have a mandate to kind of sit back and just make sure that everything's ticking along nicely and let Livramento go forward. That there could be a narrative for that, but it could go either way. He is on set pieces. He's on corners, right? He's on
corners and free kicks every time. Yeah.
So for me, I don't think it should be too much of a concern about Trippier. But again, the pundits might be right. It may be that.
I just wonder if it would slow down his bonus points because they come from being so attacking in that final third and creating big chances and stuff. I guess we'll see.
He played left back for England in the Euros and was good.
Absolutely, but I think it does limit his attacking potential because you just got to cut back onto that right foot before you can cross things in all the time. So it does just mean that maybe you'll be passing inside more. Don't know.
True, yeah.
If you think back to the Euros, it was always Shaw, right, on the left who did things. I never remember Trippier doing much on the left. Just saying.
Yeah.
It was always Shaw.
Did great defending on the left.
Amazing
defending on the left.
Yeah, for sure. Steve, I think you're absolutely right. Like, him on the right is a very different player to him on the left.
Sell Trippier.
There'll be something for the people who own him and have spent seven big ones on him. Will do those BPs dry up, but it's going to be exciting to find out. But I think Lascelles for Burn. I think if people have got Burn and then moving down to Lascelles seems like the natural thing to do. John, we're going to be looking at our friends in North London. You were there at one of the most manic games, I think, of football that anyone's ever seen. What's your FPL takeaway from what you saw?
Absolutely bonkers. Still just kind of coming down off it. I can kind of look back on it with a bit more enjoyment now. It was a bit frantic. Sat 2 or 3 seats away from the Chelsea fans. Romero should have been sent off in front of me. Udogie was sent off in front of me. First of all, Cole Palmer is about twice as good as every other Chelsea player. He's absolutely unbelievable. So I'm going to be getting Palmer in. He's doing everything. Chelsea are in the ascendancy. He's on penalties. he's one of those players like Maddison where everything that's happening is going through him. Absolutely nothing from anyone else on the pitch, despite them scoring 4 goals. Spurs were incredible. They got a standing ovation at the end, right? So I feel like Dyer, Højbjerg and Vicario could have just defended on their own. Chelsea was so bad. They could have been those 3 on the pitch.
Right.
They were so good and Chelsea was so bad. But yeah, for Spurs and for anyone that's holding Spurs assets in their team going forward, it's going to be dicey. 10 very difficult games coming up. Mickey van de Ven, who I had in defence as a differential to Romero, who was picking up assists and goals and clean sheets, did his hamstring, so he's going to be out for a long time. Romero, straight red, so he's out for 3 games. He's been transferred in a lot over the last few game weeks on the back of some clean sheets. Lots of players have Udogie and Romero. Maddison, knock on the ankle.
It didn't look good.
Spurs are going to have to play a centre-back from the academy or Højbjerg, who was absolutely incredible at centre-back. So Wolves, Villa, City, difficult games coming up. If you've got 2 or 3 Spurs players and 2 transfers built up, I would be getting rid of Spurs players for the next few weeks. I think it's going to be a rocky couple of weeks.
Now, the egg bet. If you remember, we were betting that Chelsea would not score more than 10 points. Let's have an update on how that went.
I feel like I should speak to it as I can reveal I am the loser of the egg bet. Chelsea did manage to reach 10 points eventually. Slightly painful that it was against Spurs. 3 games early. They banked a few more points than I thought they would do early on. It'll be extra painful if they now get 0 points for their next couple of games against City and Newcastle.
And what, Alfred, do you win in return for this for this accomplishment?
Yeah, it was originally 6 of the best Cacklebean British eggs, but I think, John, we have both decided like a nice half dozen of farmers market eggs will absolutely suffice. So, my whole thing was I don't want to have to go onto Cacklebean and make an account and then, get emails from them for the rest of my life. I'm more than happy to get 6 organic eggs. And what a journey it's been.
Well done, Al. Yeah, I'll get you those farmers market eggs pronto.
Do you know what? You know what I'm going to do with those farmers market eggs? I'm going to make you an omelette.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
You can't make an omelette without breaking some Chelsea egg points. Now, listen, well, those are our choices for the week. You've heard about our transfers, our pain of game week 11. I'm sure you also had the same pain as well. If not, let us know what you got right, and certainly feel free to let us know what we've got wrong in the comments below. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. All makes a massive difference to the channel. Next week, hopefully, a much better rounds for everybody. Hopefully, much better scores. Until then, thanks very much for watching Wildcard FPL, and we will see you hopefully in a high-scoring game week 12. Oh, yeah, there are 200 egg-hungry people out there, and Cacklebean could do worse than to leave their product in our capable hands to sell on to those 200 lovely people.